Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from Entitled People. Story 1 is by HuffPuff92, and it's another lunch thief story, like yesterday's. Those are mine! I've been seeing a lot of posts or articles about lunch thieves, and it made me think of mine. This happened about 4 months ago. I brought in a thing of pizza rolls with my name written across both sides. When it was time for my lunch, I go to the freezer and I can't find them. I looked all over to make sure they weren't moved. They weren't. In the microwave, there's a plate of pizza rolls warming up, though. I looked in the trash, and right on top was the bag with my name in huge letters. The person who was warming them up had left the room. So once they're done cooking, I pulled them out, grabbed my ranch, and started eating. Then walks in Teresa. And let me just say, she is pissed. She asked me how I have the nerve to steal her lunch. Conversation went like this. Me, you mean the lunch that I brought in? Her, you didn't. That's mine. Give it back to me. Me, this is my... Her, if you don't give it back to me or give me $10 to replace it, I'm going to tell Rick. Me, okay, go for it. A few minutes later, Rick and Teresa came walking into the break room. Teresa, see, there she is, eating my lunch. Rick, is that true? Me, no, if you look at the bag at the top of the trash, you'll see that my name is written on it. Teresa, she could have done that after I left. Rick just rolls his eyes and says there's nothing he can do. Teresa, are you gonna at least make her pay me for it? Rick, no, the bag has her name on it. As far as I can tell, it's hers. Rick walks out. Teresa, you could have told me it had your name on it before I went and got Rick. Me, and you could have bought or brought your own lunch instead of trying to steal mine. She still tells new hires to watch out for me, laughing while crying emojis. Man, some people are just insane. OP, I completely agree. I used to bring donuts in pretty regularly to the district that I used to work for, and I'd put them on the table. And I'd open the boxes up and usually take one or two myself. And during the winter time when everyone was fighting colds, because colds run rampant at school districts, I would bring in sliced oranges and little boxes of orange juice, and I'd open those up and take one and just leave it on the table. Generally, if it was on the table, it was fair game, but you can kind of tell the difference between free food, free drinks, and somebody's lunch. This story, of course, got some commenters down below sharing their own stories. Underneath in the comments by Dances with Trout, I read an article in the Wall Street Journal quite a few years ago about this. A woman who worked for some Fortune 500 company, forget who, had her lunch stolen. Turns out it was stolen by some high-up exec, a vice president making way up in the 6 figures. This was a long time ago. Today it would probably be 7 figures. She caught the guy red-handed. For some reason, she felt empowered enough to rip into the guy, chewed him out really well and very loudly. As fate would have, the CEO walked by and saw the whole thing. Questioned the VP. Instead of doing the right thing, the VP tried to justify it, as in, yeah, well, I got stuck in this meeting and now I have another and I couldn't eat and I'm starving and she can just go buy lunch. Here, I'll pay for it. Nope. The CEO took him into his office. Within an hour, he was escorted from the building. This kind of thing probably happens maybe 0.1% of the time, of course. If she hadn't caught him, I guarantee you he would have gotten away with it. And then he basically, more or less, tried to pay her off. He didn't offer a large sum of money, just, here, I'll go buy her lunch. No. Why would any reasonable human being keep you on staff if you're a thief? Underneath that by FitOrFat 1999. I remember a story from Ask a Manager, I think, where there were signs in the lunchroom saying food stealing is a fireable offense. A popular and excellent employee was in there at the same time as her boss and grandboss. She goes to the fridge, says, "No name, fair game," and grabs somebody else's drink. Fired immediately. I'm sure she was shocked. Shocked. Our next story is by Ian Moves Out. Entitled, Ex-Landlord Demands I Leave Behind the Washer and Dryer I Paid For. Originally, I posted this on Am I the A-Hole, but someone said it might belong here. So yeah, here it is. For the past 2 years, I, 25 male, lived in a small apartment building. The apartment didn't have laundry room for the building when I moved in, but it did come with hookups for washer and dryer in the apartments. So I bought them myself because I work for a wildlife sanctuary and I get pretty dirty during my work. Just the other day I had to chase down and wrestle one of our wild boars, Bacon. We didn't name him that, he came with a name, who loved to escape his pen and think it's funny to play chase. I got me completely dirty. I was covered in grass stains and mud, so I very much need the washer and dryer. My boyfriend and I just got engaged, and since my lease was up, I moved into his house with him. I finished moving everything out of my old apartment yesterday, and I thought nothing about taking my washer and dryer with me as I had bought them. My boyfriend had some, but they were old and kept breaking down and were costing too much to have fixed. Well, I woke up this morning to multiple missed calls from my old landlord. I left my phone number and new address in case my mail was delivered to my old place. I called him back and he asked me why the washer and dryer were gone. I explained that I took them with me. He started freaking out, saying that he had put that the place had a washer and dryer in the ad for the place. Apparently, I have raised the rent due to them. He started demanding that I bring them back because the new clients he had set up to move had already signed the lease and were not interested in the place without a washer and dryer. Even threatened to call the police if I didn't take them back. I got angry and told him I would do no such thing, reminding him that they belonged to me. I bought them and I still had the receipt from when I bought them, as well as texts from him when I moved that explained that I was buying them myself. He again threatens to call the police. I told him to do it and see what happened and hung up at that point. Personally, I don't think I'm in the wrong. I bought them and they weren't cheap, so I feel like I have the right to take them. My boyfriend is on my side, but today the coworker said they think I was the jerk for not telling the landlord I was taking them. In my opinion, that should have been obvious. I paid for them. Why would I leave them? Well, my landlord went through with calling the police because they showed up today. Honestly, nothing really noteworthy happened. I explained to them what was going on and showed them the receipt for the washer and dryer, as well as the text from the landlord I had from when I told him I was buying them, and the cops took my statement and left. My boyfriend's father is a lawyer, and he's going to be contacting my landlord and sorting everything out. He advised me not to respond to said landlord anymore for the time being. If you bought them, they're yours, unless there's a situation where you contacted the landlord and they reduced your rent by the cost of the washer and dryer. A couple of years ago at a different rental, our microwave broke down. And the landlord said, go ahead and buy a new one, send me a copy of the receipt, and we'll deduct that from your rent. So we did buy it, but we don't own it because they took some rent off. It makes me wonder if this person might have had something like that happen. You can't just call the cops and say, I promised these people a washer and dryer, and that washer and dryer was in here for years. No, you're out of luck. Go buy some new ones, then your tenants will move in. Down in the comments by Nano Padilla. Yeah, you're good. You bought it. He's demanding you leave your stuff. It's no different than demanding you leave your TV or shampoo. He's off his top if he thinks he's going to get it. We'll need an update. Our next story is by Millbop. Entitled Car Salesman Demands I Finance. After selling my motorhome and SUV, I had the cash to buy our next car outright, and that's what I intended to do. I go find the car I wanted and go to the dealership to buy it. The test drive is great. Car is great. I'm ready to get the deal done. First, I'm given the final price sheet with $1,500 warranty I neither asked for nor was asked about. I tell him to take it off. I had to go through his sales pitch and fighting me on it. I win. I'm not getting their extra warranty when the car is still under the manufacturer's warranty anyway. Next, he gives me a form to get my details for a credit check. I tell him I'm not financing. He leans back with a big sigh like I'm being difficult. I ignore him. Do you want me to write a check and wait for it to clear to pick up the car, or do I need to get a cashier's check right now before the bank closes? He gets up and leaves. Great. 15 minutes passes. 30 minutes. I'm getting angry. He comes back with the manager, and they both try to get me to finance. This is how you build credit, they say. I say, I already have a great credit score. They say, you don't want to tie up this money. He tries to ask me some personal questions to make me scared to spend the money. He says, do you own a house? Do you have family who relies on you? I'm not playing this game. I have an emergency fund. I just want to buy the car, personal check or cashier's. They leave. I'm made to wait again. I get this is their sunk cost fallacy scheme. The more time I waste trying to get this done, the more likely I'll be to see it through. But I'm fed up. I get up to leave and he catches me on the way out. Are we doing this or what? I say. He's apologetic and lures me back to the negotiating room. Then he acts like I just killed his dog and says he lost the warranty money and now he's going to lose the financing money. I like you. I really do. But I've got to feed my kids like everyone else. Can you just work with me? The amount they give us for sales like this isn't even worth my time. It's ridiculous. I literally had to get up to leave again before he would finally take the check. I really should have walked out. Can you imagine being made to feel like an a-hole when you're buying a whole darn car? They make a whole lot more money off the vehicle if you finance it because you're paying over time, you end up paying more, just like any loan. So he probably lost out on quite a lot of money from that. But that is no reason to try to swindle somebody into financing. The person doing the sale is still going to get a cut. If it's not enough for him, that's tough. That's on him and the business. That's not on you. Down in the comments by Criticism Shot 2565. I had a car dealership do this to me once when I was 18. My dad didn't want me to pay interest, so he had already loaned me the money, and I was to pay him back interest-free. Fortunately, he had come with me to buy the car, and when they wouldn't stop pushing the financing, he told me, come on, we're leaving. We will look elsewhere. I was heartbroken because I'd already fallen in love with the car, but I did as my dad told me. We ended up finding an almost identical car, but with lower mileage and more options for $2,000 less at another dealership, and they happily took our cash. So it all worked out for us. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have a pretty day.